As Nigeria prepares for Saturday's presidential vote, the country is also mourning the death of more than 130 people killed by gunmen in Kaduna. Senegal's President Macky Sall is the heavy favorite in Sunday's presidential election, but critics accuse him of jailing political rivals. And VOA's own Cheick Diallo, a former professional basketball player, weighs in on NBA's plans to further its global reach. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now, widely praised as the most stable democracy in West Africa, Senegal and its voters are preparing for Sunday's presidential election with incumbent Macky Sall as the front-runner and heavy favorite. President Sall faces four opposition leaders. VOA's Salwa Jafari is in Dakar and tells us about the five main candidates.
We're here in Dakar, where the countdown to a crucial election is underway. The atmosphere is very tense right now. I'm on the Boulevard de la Corniche, and as you can see, most billboards of candidates have been vandalized lately, except those of Macky Sall. So the question on everybody's lips, who are the more than 6 million electors going to vote? Who are they going to choose as their president? Here they are, five candidates. Let's start with the one who is already in office, the current president, Macky Sall. This former geological engineer is running for a second term, offering a program built around a single promise, true development. To do so, he's targeting programs for young people, the social and digital economy, agroeconomy, as well as industrialization. It is an initiative welcomed by most observers, but some are wary of the scale of his ambitions.
He might be controversial, but he has a plan, which is to focus on roads and airports, infrastructures, and more.
Madi Kenyong, former lawyer in Dakar, is close to former President Abdoulaye Wade. He has several ministerial portfolios to his credit. This Saint-Louis native has been minister several times. His October candidacy announcement came as a surprise for members of his party and partisans of the candidacy of Karim Wade. Could this perceived betrayal cost him the election?
He is very daring and has a lot of humor. He brings a breath of fresh air with the way he speaks, especially when he used the words in Wolof.
Also in the running is Issa Sall, director of the University of the Sahel, a computer scientist trained in Senegal and the United States and member of parliament since 2017. He has promised to prove himself in his first 100 days in office by diagnosing the problems of the state and balancing the institutions.
He has the Mustashideen behind him, and they're very disciplined in what they do. It is not by chance that Issa Sall is among the five main candidates. Although it's his first time in the political race, he is well surrounded.
And then there is Idrissa Seck, nicknamed the Little One from Thiès. He hopes to win the votes of supporters of candidates who didn't make the cut. Khalifa Sall, whom he says he will visit in prison upon being elected, and Karim Wade, with whom he has good relations. For many, Idrissa Seck is the dark horse of this election.
However, a lot of people consider him to be part of the system, that he will not bring anything new to the table. People are thirsty for young blood, while he is a part of the old political system.
And finally, the youngest, Ousmane Sonko, the first-time candidate, has not shied away from criticizing the current government. He lost his job as a civil servant and was then elected as an opposition member of parliament, publishing a book last year accusing the president and his cabinet of corruption in the oil and gas industry.
Ousmane Sonko's speech when he first entered the political scene affected the youth, who understood that they had to take matters into their own hands. And that's the reason why they sympathize and respect Ousmane. His age is also his strong point. He is only 45-years-old, with a great career so far, and that makes a lot of young people want to relate to him.
These are the five figures from whom Senegalese voters will choose. If no one reaches an outright majority in the first round, there will be a runoff between the top two finishers to decide Senegal's next leader. Salwa Jafari, VOA News, Dakar.
Well, as we get closer to Sunday's vote, VOA is pleased to bring you a series of profiles on men and women of all ages and all walks of life in Senegal. They're talking about the hope they have for their country and what they expect from the general elections. Today, in the We Are Senegalese series, let's hear from Papa Ismaila Dieng.
Senegal is the country I was born in. It is the country that educated me, who invested in me, in my education and in my health. It is the place that instilled in me the citizen values I defend today as an activist and blogger. It is also the country I represent everywhere in the world, wherever I go. I'm very proud to wear my T-shirt with the Senegal flag on it. In Senegal, the problems are many. There is the high cost of living, especially in Dakar, more than anywhere else. Transportation problems in Dakar and more attacks on individual freedoms. Some freedom-killing laws are passed more and more, not to mention the extremely expensive healthcare system. In addition, health facilities are not accessible. There's also what could be called a value crisis today in this country. The problem of leadership here in Senegal is real. Leaders do not have enough leadership. They do not believe enough in this country. They do not make the necessary decisions to drive growth dynamics and thus bring about changes that people expect. The people are also responsible because they are not demanding enough towards the leaders in order to bring changes at the local and state level. Let's say that the responsibilities are shared. I think we need more social justice. This means a better redistribution of the resources that are produced in the country. What we notice instead is that there is a richer group that keeps on getting richer and enjoys the resources, while the rest of the population is falling into even more poverty. We are told that there is a growth rate that will soon hit the double digits, 7% now, as we target the 8%. We are also told that agriculture works. Well, but it does not feel like it in everyday life. This social justice is needed. To the candidate, I will say, respect Senegalese citizens. This means they need to respect their own word. All these promises made to the Senegalese people, these oaths taken as they declared themselves candidates, and even for whoever will become president. Respecting the oath that he will take before the Senegalese is a must. Today, Senegalese need to believe in this country again in order to relive the Senegalese dream, to believe that they can succeed in this country. This will only pass if they respect their word. If I were president, my first decision would be the rationalization of public resources and adopting measures to cut costs and reduce the government way of life. I would do this to assure more social justice, more social equity, in fact. I would direct public spending towards social initiatives, towards development, investment in areas like agriculture and the processing. I will also bring more transparency in the management of public affairs. I would also be more transparent in public spending, be more transparent in the contracts that we sign with large companies, oil contracts, for example. I still have hope. I have hope that our political leader will change their vision. They will stop thinking about themselves and think more about the people. I also hope that the people themselves will have a greater attachment to their country. They need to have a greater civic sense in order to participate in the management of this country. First of all, Senegalese need to be more demanding towards themselves and then towards their leader. This is the only way we'll really develop Senegal.
Well, amid security concerns, Nigerian election officials are feverishly preparing for its presidential election on Saturday. Authorities say the death toll from an attack last week by gunmen in northwestern Nigeria has doubled to more than 130. Michelle Hennessy reports.
The death toll from last week's deadly attack in Nigeria has more than doubled. Kaduna State Governor said on Tuesday the motive appeared to be, quote, to wipe out certain communities. Those killed were mainly from a majority Muslim ethnic group who have been involved in clashes with a predominantly Christian group spanning years. Locals say the attackers killed men, women and children before setting their homes ablaze. This is what remains of the area in Kaduna State now, burnt out homes and belongings. Governor Nazir El-Rufai visited the village on Saturday, where he promised to prosecute the offenders.
This is the scale of the tragedy that we are trying to confront here, and some people are politicizing it.
There's conflicting reports of when exactly the attack took place. It was officially announced late Friday, just one day before Nigeria was supposed to head to the polls. A last-minute decision by election authorities postponed the presidential run by a week. Security has become a key campaign issue for the election. Hundreds of people were killed last year in outbreaks of violence in central states. The main frontrunners, President Muhammadu Buhari and Atiku Abubakar, will now face off February 23rd.
Well, Nigerians living outside their country are closely watching preparations for Saturday's rescheduled presidential vote. VOA reporters caught up with Nigerians in the Democratic Republic of Congo and in China, and hear some of their thoughts about that election.
We need changes in Nigeria. We need Nigeria to be okay, perfectly okay, at least. Example, we need to stop Boko Haram. It is a very big challenge in Nigeria. We need a good government that will stop it to the fullness.
If they can respect people's choice, because I feel that many people now want to vote Atiku. They don't want this government anymore because they say that there is many atrocities in Nigeria, and Boko Haram is disturbing people in Nigeria.
Our vote stands for our destiny. If you vote today, your vote determines what happened to you tomorrow. So if you vote blindly today, I mean, your tomorrow is going to be bleak. I don't know, I'm sorry. But if you know deep inside you, your conscience tells you this is the right way to vote, I mean, this election is going to be a decider.
Before casting our votes, we need to look at the things around us. Is there any progress in the educational sector? Is there any progress in the health sector? Is there any progress in the agricultural sector? Is there any progress in the security sector? Is there any progress in the national economy? Is there any kind of improvement in the electricity standard? Is there any kind of program for youth empowerment? If there are even like 5 out of 8, then we could give another chance for this current government. So far, we are all, because like we know that change, it doesn't come at once. It takes time.
Whoever becomes the loser, whoever loses out of the election should just take it by faith. Look, I'm signing out because I signed the peace accord and I abide by what I signed. I mean, that is being a gentleman.
No matter whatsoever different political views we are having, no matter whatsoever different tribes we are from, no matter whatsoever different religion we are practicing, then that one, it doesn't change the fact that we are all Nigerians. We need to love each other, and we need to cooperate in developing our country. God bless Nigeria.
Well, Nigerians in the diaspora weighing in on Saturday's presidential election. Well, to East Africa now, Uganda's ruling party has endorsed incumbent Yoweri Museveni as its candidate for the 2021 presidential elections. The decision by the National Resistance Movement to nominate the 74-year-old Museveni follows Parliament's approval legislation in 2017 to repeal the presidential age limit of 75, which was upheld last July by Uganda's Constitutional Court. It was the second time the NRM-dominated parliament changed Uganda's constitution to allow President Museveni to extend his time in office. In power since 1986, his long rule has been marked by accusations of corruption, human rights violations, and poor social services. His likely challenger for a new 5-year term is popular singer turned politician Bobi Wine, whose real name is Robert Kyagulanyi. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Well, find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Still ahead on Africa 54, promoting recycling and waste management. How one Ghanaian man is making coffee tables from used tires. But first, a look at Wednesday's headlines.
In Nigeria, the Kaduna state governor says that over 130 people are now confirmed dead from last week's attack by gunmen. In Kenya, crude oil deposits so far discovered in the country are insufficient to allow for the building of a refinery, a senior petroleum minister official said. Some Senegalese fishermen say their livelihoods are threatened by dwindling fishery stocks, some blaming climate change and saying that President Macky Sall has not done enough to help them. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, over 30,000 people attended the 6th edition of the Amani Festival in Goma, the capital of North Kivu province. Stock cubes have transformed cooking across West Africa in recent decades, but many are concerned about the health effects of the high salt additive.
But perhaps the biggest achievement of the first summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was that it happened at all. But when the two leaders meet again next week, that likely won't be good enough. VOA's Bill Gallo has more on the high expectations for the second Trump-Kim summit in Vietnam.
Last year in Singapore, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un agreed to work toward the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. In Vietnam, there will be pressure to clarify what that idea even means and how to start implementing it.
I think there's pressure on both sides to have a tangible outcome, unlike the first summit. Otherwise, I think it's going to be branded a failure, and then we're back to square one.
The U.S. wants North Korea to take a tangible step towards dismantling its nuclear weapons, such as destroying a key nuclear site, or providing a list of its nuclear and missile inventory. North Korea wants the U.S. to provide sanctions relief, or a formal end to the 1950s Korean War. But the most productive outcome could be an agreement to hand the process off to lower-level officials.
The two leaders of the countries can't solve everything themselves. I don't think they have a thorough enough understanding to be able to take care of some of these really complex issues that you're going to need scientists on, that you're going to need technical experts on.
There are signs Vietnam will be more substantive than Singapore. In preparation for the summit, U.S. officials have held more working-level meetings with their North Korean counterparts. And in Vietnam, the two sides will have 2 days of meetings rather than just one to make concrete progress on a nuclear deal. Bill Gallo, VOA News, Washington.
President Donald Trump is condemning a lawsuit by 16 states challenging his national emergency declaration to build a U.S.-Mexico border wall. The lawsuit argues that Trump's declaration is unconstitutional and seeks an injunction that would prevent him from acting on it while the court decides its legality. VOA White House correspondent Patsy Widakuswara has the latest on the legal battle.
A series of drills by U.S. Border Patrol agents near the border with Mexico earlier this month as thousands of Central American migrants seek asylum in the United States. President Donald Trump has called the flow of migrants an invasion and declared it as a national emergency. 16 states are legally challenging Trump's declaration.
The president does not have power to act frivolously, taking the powers of this 240-plus year democracy and using them in ways that were never intended.
Trump announced a national emergency late last week after Congress refused funding for a border wall, his signature campaign promise. On Twitter, he slammed the lawsuit and blamed Democrats.
We have absolute right to do that. I have an absolute right to call national security. We need strong borders.
The lawsuit seeks an injunction, which means Trump may not be able to build his wall while the case plays out in court.
If the government goes onto someone's property, builds part of the wall or takes the money and starts spending it on contractors and construction equipment, those are difficult activities to unwind and pull back. So the plaintiffs are going to have a pretty good argument, in my view, that the government needs to hold off on starting to build the wall until the legal challenge is resolved.
The complaint joined other lawsuits by nonprofit organizations opposing Trump's emergency declaration. The judicial process is expected to be complicated.
Most of the provisions in the federal code for the declaration of a national emergency don't really have much of a standard behind them as to how you determine what is a national emergency and what isn't. And so it's not clear there's a judicially meaningful standard. And that's frankly a problem with the statutes themselves.
Full resolution of the case could drag on for months, even years, say experts.
At which point a new Congress or a new president may not be as committed to this agenda. There's also the possibility that Congress will choose to take actions that narrow or restrain a lot of the authorities the president is claiming to act under.
Democrats in Congress are also considering a lawsuit to challenge the president's declaration, which would add more hurdles for Trump to fulfill his promise to build the wall. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News at the White House.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Mami Gay conjures up her version of Tebu Diola. Her way of cooking is a demonstration of how cooking and shopping habits are evolving in West Africa. She douses filet with lemon juice and garlic and then crumbles a few Maggi stock cubes into a bowl of chopped onions. The cubes have become an essential ingredient in many everyday dishes, including Ivory Coast, poulet braised, and spicy jollof rice in Nigeria. But local companies are entering the industry, fueled by the continent's demographic boom and budding middle class, who have more cash to spend on food and high expectations when it comes to taste. An increasing number of wholesalers and retailers say they're buying more local brands in response to rising customer demand. Well, next up, Jeffrey Yeboah is making a coffee table out of a recycled tire at his workshop in Accra, Ghana. He taught himself how to make side tables, coffee tables, and armchairs. The entrepreneur says he wants to promote recycling and educate people about waste management. The furniture pieces range from $30 to $250, depending on the size and design. He advertises his work on social media and also gets referrals from other customers. Yeboah wants to grow his business and is working on plans to get more funding as he continues to provide practical furniture while helping clean up the environment. And that's what's trending today. Well, the NBA plans to further its global reach by partnering with the International Basketball Federation to start a 12-team league in Africa beginning January 2020. The new league, to be called the Basketball Africa League, is the NBA's first collaboration to operate a league outside of North America. According to the Associated Press, former U.S. President Barack Obama will have a role with the league, although the extent of his involvement has yet to be announced. To talk about what this means to African basketball players and enthusiasts, it's Sheikh Thierry Omar also, who is a former professional basketball player. Welcome to Africa 54, Sheikh.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin with breaking it down. What does it really mean for somebody in Africa who's watching this and is hearing that NBA is coming to Africa? What does that mean?
It's very exciting for Africa, especially players, NBA players level. NBA give the opportunity to African players now to come straight directly from Africa to the NBA. And for you to go to NBA from Africa is a long journey. You know, you gotta come from high school, college. In order to even be able to go to NBA, you have to go to top school in America. So NBA launching this, it can develop Africa on so many levels, economically, media, and all the players can come to the United States and all-star. They're going to be involved in more basketball, and it gives the people to see how talented African can be through the work with ESPN.
So they say, for example, there will be about at least not more than 2 teams from each country, and then there will be tournaments in the coming months or whatever after 2020 in some countries, Kenya, Morocco, Tunisia, Angola, and all this will be like teams that qualify within a country. But it means that the NBA will be looking at the best of the best from those teams that can come directly from Africa to NBA right here in the United States.
Right, they can do that. Actually, right now they have selected 9 teams they potentially think that are ready for this. After the president visit to Kenya and Africa, he saw that President Barack Obama, he saw that Africa's got a lot of talent. And he came back to propose the idea. So right now, the 9 teams they say, like you say, Morocco, Tunisia, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, Angola. Egypt, and Angola. So those are the ones that's selected, and it's still some spot left for some French-speaking side of the country to do something to enter this.
In fact, you did meet up with the president of FIBA. And what did he tell you after this announcement came out?
The president of FIBA is very excited, you know, because he think after we talked, and from what I understand, he's he think the day the African people will see that this is a business, you know, this is not only about basketball, it's about the improvement for the continent. That's the day, and it will work for African people a lot because the media, the companies, and it would be big for Africa, of course, and on sport level. And President Obama believes the sport is the one way to build bridges between people across the world. So that's the idea. The NBA Commissioner Adams the idea to talk to him about.
So for the young people of Africa, both men and women, and I know you're mentoring about 5 here in the United States yourself. What do they need to know? I mean, other than being tall, you're 6'9". I'm like 5 something. So what do they need to know besides just being very tall men and women?
They need to know is a business. American people take everything serious, especially when it comes to sports. And it's not going to be easy. You know, it's going to be a lot of challenging and also opportunity to come here, to go to school. And all those options going to be there. And even why not college? If kids are playing there and is eligible to play to college, why not? College might be interested also to recruit players from Africa. And also for the French-speaking country, it will give them the chance to see how important it is to speak the language, English. And because the part they talk about is only English spy, because they can see the language barrier can cause a problem there. So all those challenges can make it players. They have to see that's coming on their way.
That's great. And I know we said that you're a former professional basketball player, but you're not quite retired. You look forward to playing some more. Great. We really appreciate you coming over and talking to us about this. Well, that's Sheikh Omar Thier, who is a former professional basketball player, but also actually a native of Mali. Well, and that's our show for today. I want to ask you to be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. And for more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings to Daybreak Africa, that's between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.